My journey to where I am today really has a lot more to do with all that I experienced in my life. It started way back when I was dealing with my cancer and when I had my fractured back and couldn't walk. Then I had to really work on all that first so that I even got to the place that I can be a mom. Being a mother is so important to me. And when we moved to the US, it all got interrupted by divorce. And getting that crash situation here, what helped me come out of it was my idea that I am a mom, that I already have healthy children, and that I have to find a way to make it work again. That was my big motivation. And I knew then more than before and more than ever how much it can really be about life or death, and it can really about, can I help others to be stuck and waste years of their lifetime, or to make a different decision and take the steering wheel back into their own hands and live their life fully and joyfully. I'm just really extremely thankful about where I am today in my life. I'm extremely thankful that I did have to face obstacles in my life. I think that it made me a better person.
Hi everyone, this is Rod Kate. Welcome to episode 8 of Rocket Motivation. Like all of our other guests, this week's guest has faced adversity in her life. She was a German citizen living in Mobile, Alabama with her husband and 2 sons when her husband decided he wanted a divorce. This experience was devastating. How this week's guest is a bit different is that she used this experience as a catalyst to begin a career in helping others overcome devastating events in their own lives. Manja Podratz, welcome to Rocket Motivation.
Well, hello, Rod. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Manja, let's start by giving the listeners an overview of where you are today in your life, like your family, your career, etc.
Today, I live here in Mobile with my family, a beautiful husband and 3 wonderful children. And I have my own health coaching and holistic health practice here in Mobile, as well as teaching yoga classes.
And Manja, with your accent, I can tell you're not from Mobile, Alabama. Where are you from?
I was born and raised in East Germany, right? And I had a really fine childhood there. I grew up with my parents and it was really nice. And then the wall came down and it opened up this whole idea of like, whoa, life is really open now. There are so many more opportunities that my parents didn't even dream about, right? And that was me when I was like a young college kid and I thought the world is wide open. And what I didn't see coming was when I was 21, I got diagnosed with uterine cancer. And it was one of these news in life where you think, that's not right. This really happens only to others, right? This doesn't happen to me. It happens only to others. So here I am thinking, I'm 21. How is this possible that I have cancer? And what I did is I rejected a conventional treatment. I rejected a hysterectomy at the time and the conventional treatment with the idea in mind that I knew I want to have a family. I still want to cling on to that vision that I had for my life. So I did. I found ways. I dramatically changed my lifestyle back then. I dramatically changed my own diet. And I healed that cancer. So now I have 3 beautiful, healthy children. And we got married. We moved around. We lived all over the place. Ended up coming to Mobile, Alabama for work. And again, thinking this is a great new opportunity. Life only moves forward, right? And it got awfully interrupted when our marriage did not work out.
Like I said in the open, and you and I have talked before, that was kind of a catalyst. I mean, that was a devastating event for you. And what I'd like you to do is tell the listeners, the circumstances. You're in a new country, and the divorce hits, and tell us about how devastating it was, how it affected you, and how you overcame it.
It wasn't so far especially devastating because at the time, we were here on a work visa, and going through divorce basically invalidated my work visa. So because I was the spouse traveling under my husband's work visa, right? And going through divorce nullified that, invalidated that, which meant that first I lost my job and lost my source of income, but which also really made it especially difficult because when you are in the middle of a custody decision, you cannot just pack up your bags and leave. And especially, you cannot just pack your bags and move back to a different country. So in my case, I was told when you leave or when you happen to be deported or something, that means you lose your children. Because in court, it would be interpreted as abandoning your children.
Right.
So I was absolutely horrified. I was absolutely terrified by that idea. I thought this is impossible. Like, I have done nothing but trying to be the best mom I can all my life. And here all of a sudden I am told that you can just lose them just like that. So I tried things like, for instance, getting the divorce transferred to Germany. Since all of us were German citizens, it didn't work. We had our residence here. You have to get that done where your residence is. So I was stuck. I was, on one hand, forced to stay in Mobile, at the same time threatened with being kicked out. Right. Real paradox, challenging situation. It was really this thing. I said, how am I supposed to feed my children? I'm not receiving any child support. I'm not allowed to work employed any longer. And I'm not allowed to go home. What am I going to do?
So what did you do?
I was really digging in my brain and thinking, dang, I need to find some skill, something that I can turn into a source of revenue now. And I realized, well, you know what? I like baking bread. And I really know how to do all these German hearty breads. So this is what I did. I started using a friend's oven in her kitchen and started taking my German breads to the farmer's market, started to sell them. It was a big success. People really liked those breads. And it was a big success. And before I even knew it, I was not Manja, the academic, the college professor any longer. I was Manja, the baker. And everyone in Mobile met me as that.
Right. And let me step back, because what you mentioned, you are, at this time in your life, while you are going through the divorce and you are now Manja, the bread baker, you're also highly educated, right?
Yeah.
What degrees did you have at this point?
At that time, I had the Ph.D. in architecture and media studies, and I had been teaching college for over 11 years.
So now you find yourself going through a divorce. You've got all this education, and now you're baking bread.
That's right.
That's how you're making ends meet.
That's right.
The divorce you're going through, how bad did it get for you, and how did you get out of it? How did you overcome it?
It got really bad, and that's the thing. Like, it got really, really bad. In my case, it got so bad that my children and I ended up being homeless for a little while, which I really call hitting rock bottom, which is another one experience where I thought that would never, ever occur in my life. Never, ever. As you said, I have a good education. I thought I'm just going to follow along, build a nice career, raise my family. And here I was, a homeless single mom in a foreign country. It was absolutely shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. All
right. So then you start baking and selling the bread. I guess that helped out.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so take us from there. How do you go through this devastating situation, and how did you get out of it?
Well, I was again digging in my brain. What am I going to do with all this? I was still threatened, to basically lose my children at any point in time. And I had this idea, and I thought, first of all, I need to restore my legal status, and I need to find something how I can do that. And that is what I did. Digging my brain for some solution, I realized that I own a business. And I thought, this is what I do. I'm going to use my business, my LLC, to file for an employer-sponsored work visa for Manja.
So your LLC sponsored your work visa.
That's right.
Okay. And it worked.
Well, easier said than done, because there are a lot of requirements that come with that. You have to prove investments, you have to create jobs, all of that. So I was working 80 plus hours a week, right, trying to boost the business so that I can actually hire help. I had 3 employees at a time, and then I was able to file that work visa. And then it worked.
And I know that, and you actually did get custody of your children, is that right?
I did.
Okay. And I would assume that was a huge boost to your morale and everything going on in your life.
It was my ticket to freedom.
All right. So I know then at some point you began teaching yoga. Basically, you've won your divorce case as far as getting your children. So take us, from that point forward.
I mean, it really hit me so hard that I developed a depression, like bad, very bad. And that another thing that I had never seen coming for myself, because I thought I'm an optimistic person, I actually like life and I like my children. And I thought I have nothing to be depressed about, but being that challenged as I was with like finding myself in a place with a big legal struggle, with a big financial struggle, with not being able to provide a roof over my kid's head, I was seriously, severely depressed. And I started practicing yoga for myself again. That's what I did. I would sit down at night and I would meditate and I would practice yoga and I would pray a lot. And I would use that practice to put myself back together. And when everything was finalized eventually, I decided that I really need something more to just restore my own health. It was a very, very challenging time, working through these years. The divorce alone took almost 3 years, and restoring everything else. I was working with the bakery for 4.5 years. And working 4.5 years, 80 plus hours a week, I was just wiped out. And I decided to close, to sell everything, and start a yoga teacher training.
The yoga that you did for yourself, did that work in pulling yourself out of the depression?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then why is it that then you decided to teach yoga?
I found it just so healing, deeply healing, to reconnect with people on that level again, to bring myself out, because I really spent many years a lot by myself. It was me with my kitchen working and being at home every night watching my kids. And it was a quite lonely time. And coming back and reconnecting with people was so good. And then noticing how much it can uplift others. Noticing how much people really need that introspection that you get with the yoga practice. Yoga is really not only a workout. Yoga is a lot an inward and mindfulness experience. And I enjoyed it so much that, that I just started teaching more and more.
But now the teaching of yoga, it expanded at some point into helping people who are going through bad or desperate situations.
That's right.
And how did that come about?
That is a natural evolvement. As I just said, I enjoyed so much working with people. And then you have people coming into a yoga studio from all walks of life. And some of them have their own health challenges, Some of them had a knee replacement or have a bad back, or some of them struggle with depression and anxiety. So, some of them are cancer survivors. You have all kinds of people walk into a yoga class and they have real questions like, Manja, can you help me? Do you have maybe some advice for me for this or that? And I quickly realized I really need more training. I want to be able to give these people real answers.
So in other words, you weren't just going to shoot off the cuff to give advice. You actually went back and got some training, some education on what to do, how to help them.
About 4 years ago, I started getting into life coaching, health coaching, and then I got introduced to the work of Dr. Daniel Amen, the Amen Clinics, and started training with them to become a brain health coach. So specifically for brain health, for people who come out of concussions, who struggle with PTSD, depression, that kind of stuff. So, and I started incorporating a lot of that stuff in my meditation classes, in yoga work and retreats, in one-on-one coaching. And then I went on from there, and today I work a lot with hypnosis, hypnotherapeutic approaches. And of course, went on from there again. So started studying with Quantum University for integrative medicine. And that really works beautifully, combining ancient yogic teachings with new approaches that come from quantum medicine, opens such a big toolbox for people, to help people. And that's what I do. And
that's what you are actively doing today. You're helping people that have had devastating events in their life to help them overcome adversity. So you've taken what you went through and turned it into a career helping other people. Is that
That's right?
Well, let me ask this. So everyone has different types of adversity, problems, despair in their lives, and to different degrees. And I know it's not a one-size-fits-all in helping people, but in general, so what's your approach in helping people overcome their problems?
It's a very specific program when people start working with me. It's very specific. First of all, I help people remember what brings them joy, and I help people develop a real beautiful vision for their lives. So what do they want to improve? Is it their health? Is it their relationships? What is it that they want to improve? Is it maybe their financial game, right? So first, it's a vision. It's something to look forward to. It's something to, hey, if you come to me and say, Manja, can you help me with some healing and improving my life? I ask you first, where do you want to be? What does improved life mean to you, right? Then we move on and develop an action plan for that. It starts with small steps that are doable. I work a lot with energy medicine in my practice. So one of the core beliefs of mine is that as human beings, we do not have energy. We generate energy. So we start generating that energy with a beautiful vision, with something to be excited about, where you say like, whoa, if I could feel and look and live like that, boy, that would be amazing, right? So the energy starts going up. It's a little bit of a motivation driver. And then the action plan is the next thing. It's like we are breaking it down. It's not like tomorrow you are expected you to be your new amazing self, but we break it down into doable steps that I can hold you accountable for, and that again give you a chance to re-empower yourself, generating more energy, taking one step. Oh my God, I did it. Oh my God, maybe I can take the next step too. Coming out of procrastination, coming out of that feeling stuck in life. Then we look, because there may be some things required to get you where you really want to be. There may be things there where you have to learn. So we talk about which skills do we need to upgrade? What do you need to learn, right? Some people that want to improve their health, they need to learn something about nutrition, for instance, right? Or what habits do they need to change to have a more restful sleep, or, overcome an addiction, right? So we need to upgrade our skills. So when I teach people how to do that, I help them. This is where hypnosis can be extraordinarily helpful, right? Real combining everything can be extraordinarily helpful. And then once we have all that together, then we go a little deeper, because we may hit little roadblocks on the go, right?
For instance?
Well, we may hit roadblocks. People struggle with limiting beliefs. They say like, well, I really want to get there, but I'm not good enough anyway, or I'm not ready yet.
How do you help them overcome that?
Well, this is where a lot of emotional healing, this is where energy medicine is very helpful, where ancient meditation techniques that I use are helpful, and where we really erase those limiting beliefs from your mind. We erase those limiting beliefs like they were never there, and we replace them with positive affirmations.
How much did what you went through with your divorce, how much did that help you when you're trying to help people, get over their problems? First
of all, I have experienced severe depression myself.
So you've been there.
I've been there. It has taught me for myself to remove the stigma, right? It also has taught me that, it's not a chronic condition. Often we think of the flu as something that if you get the flu, it may take you a week, but eventually you come out healthy again, right? You overcome the flu within a week or so time frame, right? If people have depression, often it takes much longer, right? And then often it's like a stamp where people say like, well, I'm mentally ill. I guess I have these mental health issues. I guess that's just what I have now, right? And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. And I teach people that you can 100% heal from that. And you can come back feeling super healthy, just like when the flu hits you and you feel so horribly. You need to lay down, you need to be in bed and stay there in bed. You can't move, you don't want to work, you're sick. And it's like that with people with severe depression. They lay in bed, they don't want to go to work, they are sick. And I'm like, and when you come out of the flu and like, oh my goodness, I feel so much better today. I think I get my appetite back, right? I think I'm going to get going again. And you're healthy again. And I teach people that the exact same thing is possible with your depression, is possible with your trauma, is possible with your anxiety, or whatever else may in your way. So we really work as the final step, really helping people to master their own psychological game.
Now, do you see a common theme in people who are struggling emotionally or mentally? I mean, is there a common theme that you see that you can use to help them?
Most of it very individual stories, but this is a big common theme, that sometimes people more readily accept that they are stuck, and they use the sense of being stuck as an excuse to fail again and again. And they already have an excuse ready, right? And they use that as an excuse to do even more bad stuff to themselves.
For instance?
I'm so horribly depressed, and now whatever, my relationship failed, and now I'm just going to start eating or drinking or bad stuff, Or I'm just going to overload myself with a whole lot more negative self-talk. I'm going to tell myself every day how much a loser I am, right? And this is what coaching is all about. Coaching is not about talking a whole lot about what happened to you and how is what happened to you so bad that it becomes this excuse for your life to fail. But coaching is all about looking from now on. Because what happened is already in the past. You already survived it. In fact, you are still here. You already survived it. And I teach people to look at whatever happened. May it be a traumatic experience. They may have lost a loved one or whatever not. And I teach them that after all is an experience. It's just one event on the timeline of their lives. And the timeline of their lives has a whole lot more colors. It's not just black and white. There are so many different things. While we recognize whatever negative feeling they have as valid. Yes, something bad happens to you. Yes, of course, it's a valid feeling. But at the same time, how about we come back to thinking of what is a beautiful vision for yourself? If you could turn your life around, if nothing would be holding you back, what would that be then? And then we work only on that. We don't go back and throw ourselves into reliving the trauma over and over and over. We don't need to be doing that. We celebrate that we survived and go from now on.
Right. I say in my book, we've only got one life and you got to make the best of it. So, how does that play into what you do?
It summarizes it beautifully. You have a good point in there saying we have to make the best of it. First of all, what I teach my clients is the healing and then the action taking. Yes, the action taking, like you have to make the best of it. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is going to do it for you. If you want to live, go and live already. You have to say yes to your own life. And sometimes you do need a little help. Sometimes you may ask a therapist for some healing. Sometimes you may need to go and ask a family member to maybe help you out financially. Sometimes you may need to go back to school, learn something new, right? And sometimes you have to take a detour, like I had to do. I couldn't just continue with a beautiful academic career. I got crashed and I was baking for 4.5 years of my life. So, okay, so what?
Well, one thing that we know too is for most of us, life does not just go in one kind of upward great direction like a y-axis. The y-axis, the one going up and down, say that's, happiness or great life or whatever you want. The x-axis is time. You want a general upward sloping line that goes up to that corner. It does not go in a straight line. But I think what you want to do is you got to understand you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but you want to be generally going in the right direction. Well, let me ask you this too, and I know everybody's individuals, but for those that are listening, what advice would you give to people who are trying to overcome adversity in their lives?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I always say is look at everything that you have already. So start with gratitude. Start with thinking about what support do I already have in my life. In my case, I was thinking, what do I have right now available that I can use to come out of this mess? And I realized, well, I have the love of my children. I have my own health. I do have my education. And I better put that to good use and think of a solution here. Everybody, even in the biggest mess, has something that they can use as a foundation of support. Maybe it's your loving mother. Maybe it's your faith. Anything. Your next door neighbor, something. Start with gratitude. Sometimes people are only grateful for a warm shower in the morning, right? It doesn't have to be big. It can be super simple. Next thing is have something to look forward to. Have something that you feel, I'm not going to leave this life before I live that. I want to feel that. I want to experience that. For some people, they say, I want to meet my person and have a real passionate kiss. And I'm not going to bite the grass before, I kiss like that. Some people say, I want to make money. I want to have a beautiful home. Well, then go for it. What's holding you back? Go for it. Whatever you long for in your life, do it. So now, again, there are all these excuses, right? So I encourage my people and say, premeditate it. In the morning when you get up in the morning, you may not even be out of bed yet, but you start with thinking about something you're grateful for, anything. Then you think about something that you are looking forward to, anything. Can be as simple as, I'm really ready for a nice Thanksgiving meal next week, Right. And then you think of something that could get in the way. And you say like, and if I have to do that again,
I have to go to the grocery store and buy a turkey.
Yeah. Or no, something bad, So then you say, you premeditate it so that it doesn't shock you every time, so that it doesn't pull the rug underneath your feet. But you have already expected this challenge coming, and you have already prepared yourself by thinking of gratitude, thinking about segment first. It's like you are thinking of positive things in your life first, and you build yourself that little inner core. And then if something trips you up, you say like, it's all right, I handle this. And you don't feel so vulnerable already that the next challenge could be too much.
Right. In other words, if something blindsides you, you've already somewhat prepared yourself for it. So it's not as devastating.
And I encourage my clients to allow themselves to be the person they are. Some are real extrovert people, they go out and do it and throw themselves out, meet other people. Not everybody can do that. Some people need breaks. Some people need time to retreat and just close the door and think in quiet, right? And I'm like, and this is okay. Allow yourself to be the person that you are.
Well, I always like to give my guests the parting shots. Is there anything that you want to say that we hadn't already gone over?
I'm just really extremely thankful about where I am today in my life. I'm extremely thankful that my life did put these obstacles, that I did have to face obstacles in my life. I think that it made me a better person.
Well, Manja, with the podcast, we only have a limited amount of time, but we've only scratched the surface of your accomplishments. And so I highly recommend any listeners who are interested to go to your website to read more about you, because it really is fascinating.
Thank you.
So, Manja, I'm so glad you came on today. Like I said at the beginning, it was a little different because not only have you experienced some serious adversity in your life like my other guests have, but you've actually taken that adversity and now you are helping other people deal with their adversity. Mm-hmm. So the way I look at it is we've kind of got a professional on the show today who our listeners can tap into if they need some help.
It is an extremely rewarding work. It's my intention from the bottom of my heart to have people live their fullest potential. I want people to be happy. Every person that is happy on this planet is one less person we have to worry about, right? So I want everyone to live fully. That would be great.
All right, Manja, if someone wants to get in contact with you for help, how do they do it?
I have a website that is yogawithmanja.com.
And just so the listeners know, how do you spell Manja?
Manja. And this is the website where I announce all my retreats and workshops. And it is drmanjapodratz.com. And this is where people can read more about the work with me, schedule an appointment, an initial session if they are interested in that, where people can learn more about my books and research.
All right, Manja, thanks a lot. And that wraps it up.
Thank you.
Manja Podratz was such an interesting guest. Because of her divorce, she was basically trapped in a foreign country, unable to leave, unable to work, and barely able to support herself and her children. She used her despair to change her life and start a career helping others. Just a great story. Episode 8 is in the books. Next week, it's just going to be me in the studio talking about what I've learned through my life-changing experience and advice I have to give you to live your best life. See you next week. Thanks for listening to the show. If you're interested in getting my book, Get Back Up, just go to Amazon and put in Get Back Up and my name, Rod Cate, and it'll pop right up. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. I would really appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend. I would like as many people to hear my message as possible, and we'll see you next week. Never give up and always get back up.